Welcome back to Comic Cappers. Today we're diving into the absolute universe where the Dark Knight isn't a billionaire, he's a 24-year-old engineer in a brutal makeshift suit. This is Absolute Batman 1. We start with a bit of irony as Bruce is distracted by a sign for the Chiroptera habitat, featuring a mascot named Batty, A. Stark, almost mocking contrast to the dark path he's about to walk. Bruce is clearly deep in thought, his attention fixated on the exhibit until a voice snaps him back to reality. It's time to move. He's being ushered along by a companion through the bustling Gotham Zoo, where the mundane reality of a field trip hides the looming danger of the city around them. This isn't the Gotham you remember, and the tone is set immediately with this stark, silhouetted image of a handgun against a bright, cloudy sky. It's titled The Zoo, a chilling reference that looms over the brutal events about to unfold. This is part 1 of 5, and if this opening tells us anything, it's that the violence in this absolute universe is going to be heavy, calculated, and absolutely relentless. We open with a sweeping, cinematic shot of Gotham City at dusk. It's a gorgeous, sprawling skyline, but our narrator, Alfred Pennyworth, isn't looking at the architecture, he's looking for a soul. We see Alfred from behind, perched on his motorcycle, staring down the long, lonely stretch of a city road. He's back, and he sounds like a man returning to a crime scene he once knew intimately. Alfred continues his monologue, observing how the city has changed. It's become prettier and brighter, but that surface-level polish feels like a mask. That mask slips instantly as we cut to a news broadcast. The party animals are terrorizing the streets, and the headline is grim: 9 dead, including 2 police officers. The violence is escalating and Gotham is bleeding. Alfred cruises past the urban decay, the tent cities, and the desperate people living in the shadows. He notes that something fundamental has shifted in the city's DNA. Alfred is searching for something specific, a point of origin. He's 3 laps into his patrol, and he's coming up empty. He's looking for the city's heart, the core that used to keep the place alive. He remembers a time when Gotham had a center, a hot, beating pulse of life that defined its character. As he speeds away into the night, the reality sinks in. That heart is gone. The city has been hollowed out, leaving nothing but a shell for the violence to inhabit. Alfred continues his patrol, feeling like a stranger in a city that's fundamentally shifted. He pulls up to a local deli, noting that he barely recognizes Gotham anymore. He's clearly unsettled by the city's new trajectory, admitting he isn't sure he likes this version of Gotham, though he accepts it as the new reality. Alfred pulls his motorcycle to a stop, his internal monologue turning darker. He acknowledges that the city, or perhaps someone within it, isn't going to like him much either. We get a close-up of Alfred, revealing his identity. He's here on a mission, and he doesn't mince words. He's here to do bad things. He pays a visit to an old friend named Amir at a local shop. It's a moment of humanity that contrasts sharply with his lethal mission, as they share a warm, familiar exchange over tea. Alfred reflects on his history with Amir, recalling their shared past in Kabul and the unlikely bond they've maintained over the years, including teaching Amir's children to play cricket. Despite the warmth of their friendship, Alfred's cynicism remains. He wonders if Amir would still welcome him if he truly knew the bloody nature of the work Alfred performed during the conflict. We kick off with a tight close-up on Alfred's eye, reflecting the cold, sterile glow of his surveillance tech. He's locked in, scanning the city. Then we see the lens itself, that high-tech scope capturing the heartbeat of Gotham, confirming he's never truly off the clock. Alfred steps into his safe house, a room that perfectly captures his dual nature. It's part domestic living space, part tactical armory, with an entire wall of high-end weaponry mounted right next to his cot. He sets the kettle to boil, keeping the tea routine alive even in the middle of a dangerous mission. He checks his sidearm, a quick practiced motion that shows he's ready for anything. As the tea steeps, he lingers on a framed photo of himself and his daughter, Julia, a rare, grounded moment of humanity. This photo serves as a quiet anchor, grounding the hardened operative in a life he's clearly left behind. Alfred attempts to bridge that gap, leaving a voicemail for Julia. He sounds weary, almost hesitant. He hangs up, the rejection heavy in the air. He sighs, mocking his own vulnerability. Alfred is already deep in the digital weeds, logging into a secure channel. He's clearly frustrated, questioning why he was pulled from a high-stakes mission in Singapore to deal with the absolute carnage Gotham is currently suffering at the hands of the party animals. His handler shuts that conversation down immediately. The orders are cold and specific: observe the gang but do not engage, no exceptions. Then the mission parameters shift. There's a mysterious vigilante circling the same targets, and Alfred is authorized to take him down if necessary. Alfred's response is dripping with dry, British sarcasm. The tactical data hits his bike's navigation system, and the line goes dead. Hunt is officially on. Alfred pauses, the weight of his life's work pressing down on him. He reflects on his own restlessness, wondering why he's suddenly questioning the mission. He stares at his sidearm, a grim reminder of his true purpose. He's not here for justice, he's here because he's a professional tool. He gears up and steps out into the night, the reality of his existence as a career operative settling in. No matter where he goes, Saigon, Khartoum, or Gotham, the cycle of service never ends. Alfred Pennyworth is clearly struggling with his new reality, peering out from the shadows with a look that says he's seen too much. He's arrived, and he's already unimpressed by the state of things. He stands in the doorway of what appears to be a bleak industrial space. The atmosphere is heavy, and it's obvious he's not here for the sightseeing. He's here to do a job, but the weight of his past is clearly catching up to him. Alfred makes his feelings about this city crystal clear. He's not here because he wants to be, and he's certainly not enjoying the hospitality. We pull back to see the dreary, desolate exterior of Croc's gym, a fitting backdrop for the brutal training regimen Bruce Wayne is putting himself through. The caption sets the tone perfectly. Tonight this is your city. Bruce is deep in his element, throwing a heavy strike against a punching bag. Focusing on his mental conditioning, he reminds himself there is no fear. He continues his rhythmic, punishing assault on the equipment. He reinforces his discipline with a cold, singular mantra: no weakness. Bruce delivers a powerful kick, grunting with the exertion as he pushes his body to the absolute limit. Another heavy strike lands, the impact echoing through the empty gym. He shows no signs of slowing down, his intensity only mounting. As he continues his relentless drill, the bell rings, signaling the end of the round. He's caught in the middle of a thought. Tonight you are A, but he's not alone. Someone else has been watching this entire display, and they've decided it's time to intervene. The intruder steps into the light, ready to engage. Bruce's training is interrupted by a gym-goer who clearly doesn't realize he's messing with the wrong guy. The guy tries to act casual, claiming he was just keeping the bag warm for a big date tonight. Bruce doesn't even blink. He stares the guy down, his expression unreadable and cold, telling him to move. With the guy out of the way, Bruce turns his full, dangerous focus back to the heavy bag. He unleashes a strike with enough force to make the bag scream. It's a rhythmic, bone-shaking assault as he lands another heavy hit. Bruce finishes the sequence with a final, explosive punch that leaves the gym-goer and the audience stunned by his sheer intensity. We open on a jarring contrast, the visceral, physical impact of training juxtaposed with a classroom setting. The sound of a heavy blow echoes as Bruce pushes himself. Inside the classroom, a teacher stands before a display of a lion. He asks the students what they've learned about the predator's life. Back to Bruce, who is clearly still in the gym, throwing another massive strike. Returning to the class, a student laughs, noting that the lion has it pretty easy. Another strike from Bruce, the power behind his movement shaking the frames. The teacher turns to young Bruce, who offers a bleak, cynical take. The lion sleeps all day, eats well, and never knows fear. Bruce lands another heavy blow. Bruce continues, noting that while the lion is coddled, it ultimately lacks meaning. It never has to face the real world, the school of hard knocks, a final, thunderous impact. The teacher, who is clearly Bruce's father, playfully calls him out, joking about his grim outlook before asking if he's excited for their movie night. Young Bruce is reluctant, just wanting to nap, but his father insists, a moment of quiet tension between them. His father explains it's the movie where he and Bruce's mother first met. Suddenly, the world shatters with a deafening blast. His father's face is etched with sudden, horrific realization. We kick off with a massive, kinetic impact. Bruce is training with intense, brutal force, his strike hitting the bag with enough power to shake the room. As the dust settles, we see Waylon, holding his exotic pets, look on as Bruce apologizes for the intensity of his workout. The atmosphere is grounded, showing a rare, quiet moment of connection between Bruce and his acquaintance. Waylon negotiates the price of their arrangement, clearly focused on the logistics of his business, while Bruce remains deep in his own world. Bruce explains that his time is becoming increasingly expensive, highlighting his shift in priorities as he prepares for the shadows. He continues to focus on the cleanup, his movements methodical and disciplined. Finally, Waylon mentions Ozzy, a clear reference to the Penguin, and his involvement in securing an exotic pet license. Bruce's guarded reaction, noting that Ozzy is going to get busted eventually, reveals his cynical, calculated view of Gotham's criminal underworld. Waylon tries to keep the mood light, joking about penguins hiding eggs, but his attempt to build camaraderie falls completely flat. Bruce isn't having it. His sharp, clipped "I can't" shows exactly where his priorities lie, and it isn't with his gym buddies. Waylon presses the issue, name-dropping local figures like Harvey and Selena, but Bruce shuts him down again, clearly detached from their social circle. Waylon makes a final, desperate plea for Bruce to attend the town hall meeting tonight, hoping to pull him back into the community. Bruce stays focused on the practical damage, promising to pay for the ruined bag, but Waylon isn't letting him off the hook that easily. Waylon brings up the brutal party animals, recounting a sickening act of violence that highlights the pure, chaotic evil gripping Gotham. Bruce abruptly turns to leave, his cold indifference pushing Waylon to finally ask what is actually going on with him. Waylon shouts after him, frustrated and confused by Bruce's sudden, obsessive distance. Bruce stops in front of an old photograph of their group, the weight of his mission hitting home as Waylon declares that someone's got to do something about their dying city. We cut from Bruce's somber gym session to a massive, sleek yacht cutting through the dark waters of Gotham. The constant, thumping sound of a party echoes across the harbor, setting a jarringly festive tone for what we know is a city on the brink. Inside the yacht, the party animals are in full swing. We see a surreal mix of excess, a banquet table, a DJ booth, and even someone lounging in a pool on a duck floaty, all while the music blares. One of the gang members, clearly enjoying the chaos, asks if the music can get any louder, perfectly capturing their gleeful disregard for the suffering outside. His companion introduces the DJ as Dr. Benjamin, mocking the idea of high culture in this depraved setting. As the music kicks up a notch, one of the guests, clearly unimpressed and perhaps slightly disturbed, questions the insanity of the scene, asking if this is some kind of sick festivity. One of the party animals, his skull mask glinting under the lights, confirms the horror with a chilling, simple admission. They are fully aware of what they are, and they love every second of it. We pick up on the yacht where a party animal in a sleek mask invites a guest to join the festivities. Mr. Maroney, looking tense and unimpressed, smokes a cigar and notes that rumors identify these party animals as his own people's chaos. Another party animal spins the decks while an associate looks on, questioning the group's senseless, brutal violence against civilians. He asks why they are killing everyone, from kids to the elderly. The party animals surround the table, mockingly addressing the guests as Roman and Kiddo, inviting them to dance. Maroney tries to reassert control, insisting that Gotham has rules. But the party animals aren't listening, asking what he and Falcone have to say for themselves. Maroney snaps, demanding they kill the music and listen to him. The party animal at the DJ booth cuts the track, but his response is pure defiance. Maroney leans in, accusing them of being part of some global sick conspiracy, but the party animal leader remains unbothered. He doubles down on their local legacy, threatening the gang to clear out by dawn or face death. The party animal leader continues his twisted show and tell, showcasing his collection of death masks. He highlights a rare Socrates mask, casually noting it's made of virgin marble dust. He gestures to a Martin Luther mask, showing off his macabre appreciation for history. A bottle of champagne is opened, the celebration continuing despite the dark turn. He moves on to a George Washington mask, clearly taking pleasure in the morbid display. The leader turns his attention to Sal Maroney, the tension in the room spiking instantly. He points to a mask and drops the bomb. It's Maroney's own brother. Maroney is visibly shaken, stammering in disbelief. The leader reveals masks of his cousin Falcone and other Gotham mobsters, showing he's been hunting them all. Maroney is choked, with the leader mockingly noting there are 2 spots left for them. Champagne is poured, signaling the end of the mobsters' era. Violent chaos erupts as the party animals execute the mobsters. Amidst the slaughter, the leader orders the music turned back up, drowning out the screams. We open on a silhouette against the Gotham sunset, framing the grim reality of a city under siege. News reports are broadcasting the carnage, questioning the identity of the party animals while the body count continues to climb. We see the visceral, terrifying reality of the gang's assault as they gun down officers in cold blood. The news anchor issues a grim warning, cautioning viewers about the disturbing footage of machete-wielding chaos they are about to witness. Another look at the brutal aftermath, with the party animals reveling in the destruction of human life. Back on the rooftop, the dark silhouette of our vigilante watches over the city, a silent observer of the unfolding nightmare. The news anchors offer a hollow prayer for Gotham's future, highlighting the desperate state of the city. The gang moves through the streets in their bizarre prom night from hell attire, armed and ready for more violence. The broadcast pivots to the political response, announcing that Mayor Jim Gordon is hosting an emergency town hall to address the terror. Inside, the gang prepares for their next move, loading weapons with casual, terrifying ease. Finally, our vigilante leaps into the sky, the cape spreading wide as he prepares to intervene in the chaos below. The town hall meeting is a powder keg. Commissioner Jim Gordon is being openly heckled, with the crowd screaming that he's a disgrace and demanding he step down in favor of Hill. Gordon tries to maintain order, but the public's desperation is palpable. They're comparing his tenure unfavorably to the previous administration, claiming they were safer under Mayor Hill. A citizen stands up to voice the common sentiment. While Hill might be a crook, at least he was perceived as tough. The crowd feels helpless against the current wave of violence. Silent reactions from the crowd capture the rising anxiety. The tension mounts as the crowd looks on, paralyzed by uncertainty. The visual weight of the room reflects the sheer exhaustion of a city that feels like it's being hunted. A local tailor takes the floor, his voice cracking with emotion. He has walked the same route for 71 years, over 18,000 times, but now he's too terrified to leave his home, sensing the explosive, violent shift in Gotham's atmosphere. His fear is justified. We cut to the perspective of the party animals arriving. Dressed in their signature prom night from hell gear and ape masks, they approach with terrifying, gleeful intent. High above, Alfred Pennyworth is watching the entire scene unfold. He reports the gang's presence and their heavy weaponry back to his handler. Alfred recognizes the imminent carnage and requests permission to intervene, but his handler shuts him down instantly. He is strictly on observation duty, forced to watch the tragedy play out. Commissioner Jim Gordon is trying to keep his composure at the podium, pleading with a hostile crowd and promising that justice is coming. But the public's patience is long gone. A heckler interrupts, shouting about the party animals burning down a police station on Kane and 3rd, mocking the idea that the police can do anything at all. Gordon keeps his cool, quietly telling his partner, Bullock, to stand down as the tension in the room hits a breaking point. Bullock is clearly at his limit, growling with frustration as he realizes just how far the city has spiraled. Gordon shifts gears, trying to appeal to the crowd's better nature by pointing out that the chaos is exactly what the party animals want, a city eating itself alive. Barbara Gordon stands by her father, stepping up to the microphone to defend his record and challenge the citizens to rise above their fear. She delivers an impassioned plea, insisting that stopping these killers is a collective responsibility, not just the job of the police. But just as she's about to finish her rallying cry, the atmosphere shifts. A small, metallic object hits the floor with a sharp tink-tink. The room erupts in a massive blast, cutting the speech short and turning the town hall meeting into a war zone. Just as the town hall meeting reaches its breaking point, the party animals make their entrance. These maniacs in ape masks aren't here to negotiate, they're here to slaughter. Jim Gordon attempts to draw their fire, stepping up to the podium and offering himself as a distraction to protect the terrified citizens in the rows below. But the leader has no interest in a parley. With chilling nonchalance, he dismisses Gordon entirely. He opens fire into the crowd, the automatic gunfire tearing through the room with terrifying speed. Chaos erupts instantly as someone is struck, the violence turning the town hall into a slaughterhouse in seconds. Barbara Gordon, caught in the crossfire, cries out for her father as the scene descends into absolute panic. Gordon, desperate and cornered, shoves Barbara away, prioritizing her safety above all else as he prepares to face the onslaught. The party animals are absolutely reveling in the terror they've caused, taunting the survivors with sadistic glee before giving the order to finish the job. Suddenly, a high-tech projectile slams into one of the gunmen, taking him out of the fight instantly. The weapon is disarmed, sent flying across the room in a blur of motion. Panic sets in as the remaining police officers realize the tide is turning, though they have no idea who or what is responsible. Peering out into the night, the sheer scale of the threat becomes clear. There is a literal army of party animals surrounding the building. With the situation spiraling, the officers scramble to set up a defensive perimeter. In the shadows, the mystery figure watches, his presence imposing and calculated. He issues a final, stern warning to those inside. Whatever happens next, do not open that door. Alfred Pennyworth is watching the carnage unfold from a distance, maintaining his professional composure as he reports back to his handlers. His orders are clear. If the mysterious vigilante interferes with his intel gathering, he is to take him down. Alfred confirms with a cold, clipped response. Outside the town hall, the party animals are disoriented, trying to regain their footing after being caught off guard by the sudden intervention. They spot the vigilante perched above them and immediately open fire, barking orders to shred him to pieces. The bullets ping off Batman's makeshift armor, a testament to the brutal, reinforced engineering he's built to survive this city. Batman retaliates with precise, tactical efficiency, leaving the gang scrambling as he dominates the skirmish. Batman is forced into a desperate, high-flying evasion. As the party animals unleash a relentless barrage of gunfire from below, he's caught in the open, relying on pure momentum and his makeshift suit to survive the lethal hail of lead. Batman doesn't hold back. He closes the distance in a blur, disarming a party animal member with a precision strike that sends their weapon flying. Using his specialized gear, he yanks the gunmen into the air, tossing them aside like a ragdoll as the rest of the gang scrambles to react. One of the thugs takes a brutal exit, sent flying straight through a brick wall. Another party animal tries to plead for mercy, but it's too late. Batman's already on them. With a final, satisfying thud, the last attacker is neutralized against a street lamp. Batman descends from the shadows, his heavy boots echoing against the stone with a metallic clank-clank that signals he is no longer hiding. He crashes into the party animals with brutal efficiency, launching a devastating mid-air kick that sends two of the masked goons flying. The sheer impact is punctuated by a massive WAKRAK as he mocks them with, well, look at you go. Alfred Pennyworth watches through a sniper scope, his handler questioning if this other player is a disruption. Alfred remains cold and focused, simply stating, still gathering data. Standing atop the town hall stairs, Batman looms over the remaining gang members. He's ready for a full-scale assault, taunting them with, let's see what you can really do. Batman engages in a brutal, silent flurry of blade work, immediately establishing his lethality against the party animals. Alfred, watching from his vantage point, notes the vigilante's incredible speed. Alfred stays calm, tracking the movement with surgical precision. He observes that Batman remains entirely focused, even under intense pressure. Batman continues his relentless offensive, moving through the gang with terrifying efficiency. As Batman strikes a party animal, Alfred notes the vigilante's pent-up aggression. He watches the systematic dismantling of the gang members. Alfred begins to analyze Batman's combat profile, recognizing a sophisticated, custom-built fighting style. He breaks down the techniques, Muay Thai, BJJ, concluding that this fighter is a striker at heart. Alfred admires the theatricality and precision of the violence, noting how Batman uses bone-breaking to terrorize the survivors. It's clear to Alfred that every move is deliberate, calculated to send a message. Batman stands amidst the wreckage he's created, his silhouette imposing. Alfred observes Batman's knife skills with a mix of professional respect and surprise. He realizes the vigilante is pulling his punches, avoiding arteries to ensure no one actually dies. Alfred concludes that Batman is an idealist, a fatal flaw in this version of Gotham, and orders his team to move in. Things are getting personal. The leader of the party animals, clearly frustrated by this masked vigilante tearing through his crew, steps up with a massive cleaver. He's trying to intimidate Bruce with a boast about his kill count, demanding he back off. Bruce isn't fazed in the slightest. We see a tight focus on his hand as he grips his own weapon, readying himself for the next exchange. Batman stands his ground on the steps, a silent, imposing figure against the backdrop of the gang. He doesn't need to respond with words, his posture says everything, and just like that, the conversation ends. With a brutal shunk, Batman closes the distance, making it clear that he isn't going anywhere. The party animal leader lunges with a primal roar, but Batman has already turned the tables. The sheer aggression of the gang is met with cold, surgical precision. In a brutal shift, the blade is severed from the leader's hand. The silhouette against the red background emphasizes the sudden, violent end to the gang's dominance. The leader is left reeling, staring at his stump in shock. He can barely process the reality of what just happened. Batman, cool as ever, delivers a chillingly dry remark about the leader's prospects. He finishes the intimidation with a simple, terrifying piece of advice. Batman turns his attention to the rest of the gang, his silhouette framing the terrified party animals as he prepares to finish the fight. Batman stands tall and imposing, his silhouette radiating pure intimidation as he commands the remaining party animals to clear the area. The gang members, terrified and broken, scramble away from the vigilante, their ape masks looking almost pathetic in their retreat. Watching from the shadows, Alfred Pennyworth offers a cold, professional critique of the scene, unimpressed by the lack of tactical foresight. Alfred muses that a true tactician would have trapped the fleeing gang, and as he ignites a device, he proves his point. A massive explosion rips through the fleeing party animals, proving that Alfred is playing a much deadlier game than Batman. Alfred receives a direct order over his comms from his handlers, who are confused by the satellite feed and demand he neutralize this mysterious new player immediately. Alfred Pennyworth acknowledges his handler's orders with a cold copy, moving through the carnage of the town hall steps as the injured moan in the dust. Batman remains obscured by the thick smoke, watching Alfred's advance with calculated silence. Alfred closes the distance, his weapon whirring as he warns Batman, "That is the sound of a DC-34 automatic shotgun, son. There are only 3 of them in the world. It could blow your brains all over this sidewalk." Alfred finishes the threat with a chilling, "Before you even blink," but he's underestimated his target. Batman lunges, delivering a brutal kick that sends Alfred sprawling. With a sharp mechanical sound, Batman disarms the mercenary, snatching the high-tech rifle away. Batman stands over a grounded Alfred, looking down at the legendary operative and remarking, "Sounds dangerous." Batman looms over the defeated Alfred, the power dynamic shifting in a split second as the vigilante holds all the cards. Gotham is buzzing. After the chaos at the town hall, the city is obsessed with the new vigilante, and the mystery of his identity is already the talk of the construction sites. Alfred Pennyworth is no longer just observing, he's peeling back the layers. He pulls off his disguise, confirming his target, Bruce Wayne. Alfred watches from the shadows of a car, tracking his prey with professional precision. He acknowledges Bruce's talent for staying off the grid. But Alfred knows that being no one is the perfect cover for a man living in the cracks of the city. Alfred recites Bruce's history, a 24-year-old kid from Crime Alley with ordinary parents, a social worker mother and a teacher father, and a tight-knit circle of friends. It wasn't just luck, Bruce was a prodigy, testing at a genius level from a young age. Alfred digs into the childhood archives, highlighting a fifth-grade engineering win, a collapsible bridge design built for disaster relief. He notes the specific inspiration for the design, the anatomy of a bat wing. Even as a child, Bruce was being recognized for his brilliance. The reward for his ingenuity was a class trip to the Gotham Zoo. Alfred focuses on the grim reality of the location, where the seeds of Bruce's trauma were sown. In the present, Bruce kneels in the dark, a haunting reminder of the tragedy that truly birthed the Batman. We flash back to a pivotal moment in young Bruce Wayne's life at the Gotham Zoo. The sky is filled with birds, a hauntingly peaceful contrast to the violence about to unfold. The tranquility is shattered by gunfire. A man screams, desperate to get everyone to safety as the reality of the threat hits home. We see the tragic result of the initial volley, bodies lying on the ground, the innocence of the trip instantly extinguished. The gunfire continues, a relentless rhythm of death echoing through the zoo. A shooter fires into the crowd, showing no mercy as the chaos spreads. Young Bruce, already displaying the stoic resolve that would define him, remains focused amidst the carnage. More shots ring out, keeping the survivors pinned down. Desperate to save the group, an adult leads the children toward the shelter of the zoo's bat house. The gunfire is relentless, forcing the group to move faster. They scramble into the structure, hoping the heavy doors will provide the protection they so desperately need. The panic reaches a fever pitch as the crowd surges toward the bat house exhibit entrance, desperate to escape the carnage outside. Bruce's father shoves the terrified group forward, shouting, "Get to the back." Young Bruce is pushed into the dark, his eyes wide with pure, unadulterated fear as he screams, "Dad!" He turns back, watching the threshold, his voice cracking as he calls out for his father one last time. His father slams the heavy door shut, locking it tight. He looks at Bruce with a grim, final intensity, warning him, "BRUC, whatever you hear, you do not open this door." Through the sliver of the door, we see the silhouette of the gunman, a cold, predatory figure stalking the hallway. Bruce's hand presses against the cold steel, trembling as the reality of the separation sets in. On the floor, a single flower lies crushed, a haunting symbol of innocence lost in the violence. A massive sound effect tears through the silence, a deafening gunshot that signals the end of the world for young Bruce. Bruce's hand slips from the door, his world shattered by the inevitable outcome. Alfred continues his cold, calculated breakdown of Bruce's life, starting with a mugshot that proves Bruce went through a dark, rebellious phase after the trauma at the zoo. He describes a period of aimless rage, placing Bruce back at the scene of his greatest loss, the Gotham Zoo gates. Alfred notes a pivot point, using the imagery of bats hanging upside down to represent a shift in perspective. He highlights the bat's ability to walk on its hands, a metaphor for Bruce finding a new, unconventional way to move through the world. Bruce attempts to normalize his life with a college football scholarship, but Alfred reveals he's tracked Bruce's medical history, noting a convenient soft tissue injury. Alfred stares down the street, voiceover revealing his military background, convinced that Bruce intentionally faked the injury to avoid duty. Alfred posits that Bruce was never really about the game, he was preserving his body for the mission he's executing now. We see the mechanical gears of Bruce's mind, a deep dive into applied mechanics. Alfred lists the academic subjects Bruce mastered, starting with chemistry. The montage concludes with psychology, military theory, and sociocultural history, painting a picture of a man who spent his entire life training for this exact war. Alfred continues his meticulous deep dive into Bruce's life, noting how Bruce returned to Gotham to infiltrate the city's essential infrastructure, starting with the power grid. He tracks Bruce's movements through the water and sanitation departments, showing how the young vigilante was literally learning the city's circulatory system. Alfred highlights Bruce's time interning at City Hall, where he mastered public policy to understand the city's brain and body, preparing to dismantle the corruption from within. Bruce's dual life is on full display as he uses his engineering skills to clean up his own vigilante messes, even repairing the very stairs he destroyed in his crusade. Alfred looks out over the vast Gotham skyline, acknowledging that while he finds Bruce's construction of this Batman persona impressive, he's far from intimidated. Alfred draws from his own dark history as a mercenary, cold-bloodedly noting that he has dismantled men like Bruce in every corner of the globe. He labels Bruce a crusader, a term that Alfred clearly views as a fatal flaw rather than a virtue. Alfred prepares his weapon, signaling that he's found the opening he needs to end Bruce's mission for good. Alfred is watching from the shadows, his cold, professional assessment of Bruce Wayne suddenly interrupted by a jarringly domestic scene. He spots Bruce waiting on the steps for his mother, Martha, who chides him for making her wait an hour on the streets of Gotham. Bruce, sounding like a typical, slightly sheepish son, explains he was at the zoo. He tries to downplay the chaos at the town hall, clearly wanting to keep his mother out of his vigilante life. Alfred's internal monologue is chilling. He's positioned to strike, admitting he could easily end Bruce right there in front of his mother. Alfred hesitates, his finger hovering near his weapon as his phone buzzes with a notification. It's a brutal reminder of his own isolation, a harsh text from Julia cutting ties. It's a moment of personal vulnerability that clashes with his mission. Alfred stares at the pair, his reflection visible in his sunglasses as he watches Bruce comfort his mother. Alfred ultimately decides to stand down, dismissing Bruce as just a kid. The threat recedes for now, but the hunt is far from over. We pull back to the Gotham skyline, where high-rise towers pierce the clouds like jagged teeth. It's a haunting, isolated view of the city Bruce Wayne is desperately trying to save. Inside a high-tech hideout, Alfred Pennyworth is deep in analysis. He's been studying the party animals' gear, and he's realized their ape skull masks aren't just for show. They hide something far more technical. Alfred cuts his recording short as he reaches a breakthrough. The circuitry he found inside those masks suggests a level of sophistication that changes everything about the gang's threat level. Suddenly, the hunter closes in. Alfred tracks Bruce to his secret perch, noting how clever it is to hide in the unoccupied, hollowed-out top floors of corporate skyscrapers. Alfred calls Bruce out on his own history. Because Bruce spent his youth as an engineer working on these very buildings, he knows exactly which ones are empty, making them the perfect, abandoned staging grounds. Alfred doesn't hesitate. He corners Bruce, weapon drawn and eyes locked on target, ready to end this vigilante's career for good. The game is over. Alfred Pennyworth, ever the calculating operative, tries to goad Bruce into a moral lapse. He racks the shotgun, mocking Bruce for supposedly abandoning his ideals the moment he's cornered. Bruce doesn't blink. He stares down the barrel of the gun, unflinching and completely in control of the situation. Alfred tries to assert dominance, telling the kid to hand over the weapon because he knows Bruce isn't a killer. He's dead wrong. Batman pulls the trigger, unleashing a massive, fiery blast from the shotgun. The force of the shot sends Alfred reeling backward, his own sidearm flying from his hand as he's blown off balance. Batman shifts gears, the sound of his motorcycle engine roaring to life as he prepares for a high-speed exit. Alfred is left reeling, realizing just how outplayed he's been. Batman didn't just disarm him, he modified Alfred's prized DC-34 shotgun to be non-lethal, discarding it like trash before roaring away on Alfred's own bike. As he speeds off, Batman drops a parting line that hits just as hard as the bike's engine. "You're not the only one who follows people." Alfred watches, battered and clearly stunned by the young vigilante's audacity. There's no hesitation from Bruce. He drives straight through the skyscraper's glass, shattering the window in a shower of debris. He doesn't stop for the drop, plunging into the Gotham skyline from 1,000 feet up. Alfred is left coughing, bleeding, and genuinely bewildered, wondering how on earth the kid intends to survive the fall. Even the party animals are left in shock, staring at the chaos and muttering, "Bats are crazy, I'm batty." Batman soars through the night sky, his cape billowing against the massive backdrop of the full moon. He's successfully escaped the high-rise, leaving Alfred in the dust after that daring leap. As he cruises through the air, he offers a rare moment of reflection. It's a quiet, almost hopeful admission that suggests Gotham might just have a fighting chance with him in the shadows. The scene opens on a radio communication regarding a lost target, while a contact insists on keeping the focus strictly on the party animals. The speaker details a terrifying 5-year history of a man who systematically learned from, then destroyed, the world's most elite killers. The perspective shifts to Manila, where 2 men in a helicopter discuss the aliases of their mysterious, high-profile employer. They contemplate the sheer scale of the man's influence, noting his place among the world's elite. The mood darkens instantly as one man warns his companion that their boss is not a man who appreciates humor. Walking toward the facility, the men clarify why their employer is so feared. He is completely devoid of joy. The man steps out of the shadows, looking directly at the reader with a cold, intense gaze. The tension peaks as the name is finally revealed. The issue concludes with a final tease of the chaos to come. Welcome back to Comic Cappers. Today we're diving into the absolute universe where the stakes have never been higher. Batman is taking the fight directly to the streets, and this cover art sets the tone perfectly. A brutal, tactical confrontation that proves this Dark Knight isn't playing by anyone's rules. Let's see what happens when the absolute Batman goes all in. We open on a heart-wrenching moment. A young boy desperately pleads with his father to open a door, but the man remains slumped and unresponsive on the other side. Suddenly, the boy looks up, startled by an unseen disturbance that breaks his focus. An aggressive, feral bat lunges into the frame with a piercing shriek, signaling an immediate shift from emotional drama to pure primal terror. The creature strikes, latching onto the boy's back as the atmosphere turns chaotic. It's not just one, a swarm begins to coalesce, creating a jagged, nightmarish silhouette against the light. The swarm descends in full force, overwhelming the boy as he cowers in the doorway. We close on a tight, terrified close-up of the boy's eye, reflecting the encroaching darkness of the swarm. We're diving deeper into the absolute universe, and this splash page sets the tone for our second chapter, titled The Zoo. It's a striking, visceral image that captures the chaotic, animalistic nature of the threat Batman is up against. The bats here represent the swarm, the overwhelming, relentless force of the party animals that our hero is currently fighting back against in the shadows of Gotham. The war for Gotham is reaching a boiling point. Over the next 2 weeks, the party animals escalate their offensive across the city, leaving chaos in their wake. In response, Batman takes the fight directly to them. He's not just holding the line, he's dismantling their operations with brutal, surgical precision. He's everywhere, or at least it feels that way. Batman somehow anticipates their major strikes, intercepting them before they can dig in. Tonight, that means a high-stakes showdown at the Gotham Aquarium. He tears through their ranks, silencing them one by one. It's a masterclass in tactical aggression, but he isn't entirely alone. Our mysterious narrator is watching, providing digital cover and surveillance protections. It's a cold, calculated arrangement. The more Batman disrupts Roman Sionis's plans, the more data our narrator gathers, all in the hopes of finally escaping the city for good. Our narrator, a former Special Forces operator, watches from the shadows as Batman is swarmed by Roman Sionis's party animals. It's a brutal scene. These thugs aren't just street-level criminals anymore, they're a small, coordinated militia. As Batman holds his ground, the narrator reflects on his own military past, noting that any smart leader knows when to retreat, yet he watches Batman continue to push forward into the chaos. The narrator keeps his tactical perspective clinical, noting the abbreviation for the cycles of advance forward and retreat and regroup as he observes the cycle of violence. Despite the overwhelming numbers, the narrator admits he keeps expecting Batman to pull back, but the Dark Knight never does. We see Batman strike with precision, pinning his enemies against the aquarium glass with a heavy metallic impact. Batman lets out a defiant roar, signaling that he isn't just surviving this fight, he's dictating the terms of it. With a massive SBOOSH, Batman executes a calculated maneuver, using the environment of the aquarium to his advantage. He's not just brawling, he's orchestrating every move, proving to the narrator that he understands Gotham's obsession with its own wildlife, and uses every tool, every shadow, and every distraction to stay ahead of the game. Batman is truly a master of the environment. While the party animals wade through the aquarium, he hangs above them like a predator, waiting for the perfect moment to turn their own surroundings against them. With a simple, calculated flick of his wrist, he drops a small chemical device into the water. It's a brutal bit of science. He's using a concentrated vinegar compound to transform the aquarium's salt water into burning hydrochloric acid. The effect is immediate and horrific. The thugs are sent scrambling out of the tank in pure agony, their screams echoing as the acid takes hold. Watching from the safety of his monitors, our narrator allows himself a grim, satisfied chuckle. He notes that Batman has multiple hidden bases, caves scattered across the city, though he's only managed to track a few of them. However, by mapping the bat's movements, the narrator has finally calculated the potential locations of the rest, and the realization of what he's found hits him hard. As the narrator stares at his screen in disbelief, Batman disappears into the shadows, slipping down into the dark, hidden depths of the city. Our narrator, the tactical analyst, is tracking the patterns of the Batman across Gotham, noting that he's certainly committed to the bit. We see Bruce Wayne maintaining a monastically tight routine when he isn't in the suit. He works, then vanishes, fueling rumors of Red Hood connections, but the reality is colder. He's a man alone, even distancing himself from his own mother. His discipline is absolute, save for one deviation that leaves our observer stunned. It's a quiet, ominous beat, a security camera watching the perimeter of Blackgate Penitentiary. Batman has come to visit Joseph Chill, the man who murdered his father. Though the narrator can't hear the conversation, he can imagine the weight of it and admits he only respects Batman more for making the trip. But the oversight ends here. The narrator's handler orders him to drop all protections on Batman, citing him as a volatile factor. He contemplates fighting the order, knowing Batman's actions have been vital to his own mission. He realizes Batman's provocations have actually helped him map out Sionis's network, yet he ultimately complies and removes the protections. With the safety net gone, the party animals immediately track Batman to his high-rise hideouts. The narrator tries to visualize Bruce's final realization as he sees the trap closing in. He gets the brutal message, retreat and regroup, Batman, $R as the henchmen swarm his position. Things escalate instantly as a massive explosion rips through the Gotham skyline. The party animals are pushing the city to its breaking point. Despite the chaos, the expected follow-up attack doesn't happen. The thugs are clearly frustrated, shouting for the action to continue, but the enemy has gone quiet. Our narrator, the tactical analyst tracking Batman, starts to piece it together. He realizes that Batman isn't just reacting, he's controlling the tempo of this war. Witnesses in the city watch in shock as the reality of the situation sets in. This isn't a random riot, it's a calculated strike. More blasts erupt, but these aren't just destructive, they're part of a pattern. The narrator observes the rhythm of the violence, seeing the method behind the madness. We zoom in on those glowing, intense eyes. There's no hesitation here, just pure, singular focus. Batman stands on a rooftop, a lone silhouette against the burning city. He isn't stopping, he is the unstoppable force, the one long advance forward. He is, quite simply, Batman AF. We start with a news broadcast where Mayor Hill is spinning the narrative, using the city's fear of the party animals to attack Mayor Gordon's administration. He's framing Batman's popularity as a sign of total institutional failure. The scene cuts to a stark contrast, a crime scene where the body count is mounting. Hill's rhetoric is sharp, labeling Batman a criminal and using the chaos to justify his own political comeback. The anchor presses Hill on his own corruption scandals, but he pivots perfectly, arguing that in a broken city, people will choose the lesser of two evils, even if that evil is a vigilante. Inside a hospital room, a wounded Commissioner Gordon is clearly fed up with the political circus, ordering Bullock to kill the feed. Bullock updates Gordon on the tactical situation, requesting heavy state support including RVs and medical coverage. Gordon, ever the pragmatist, questions if more firepower is really the answer to Gotham's problems. Bullock is adamant that they didn't bring enough force to the last encounter. He's laser-focused on one objective, taking Batman down and fast. Barbara Gordon pushes back, questioning why the heat is on Batman instead of the actual terrorists, the party animals. Bullock's logic is cold and tactical. He believes the party animals are only escalating their tech and violence because Batman is forcing their hand. Barbara reminds Bullock of the personal stakes. Batman has saved all of their lives, including her father's, multiple times. Bullock isn't buying it. He's convinced Batman is a deep cover plant or a secret partner to the gangs, despite the fact that Batman is the one feeding them intel on gang movements. The argument is cut short as someone, or something, interrupts their heated debate, setting the stage for yet another complication in this war. We shift focus to the human toll of the chaos in Gotham, as a heartfelt embrace between two women underscores the emotional weight of this conflict. One of them, clearly battered and weary, tries to downplay her own condition, but the concern is palpable. The other woman, Martha, isn't buying it. She turns her attention to Babs, noting that the injuries are severe and rest is mandatory. It's a futile hope, though, as everyone knows the stubborn nature of those fighting on the front lines. The tension spikes immediately when Bullock gets a call. The situation is escalating, and he's forced to confront the reality of the threat. The party animals have moved to the Port Authority, forcing an immediate, dangerous response from the GCPD. Back in the quiet of the room, the injured officer is told to rest, though she's already questioning if she even has the luxury of choice. Watching her go, there's a moment of genuine admiration mixed with sadness for the kind of person she's become. This leads to a heavy, reflective moment about the state of the city. The idealism they held in their youth feels like a distant memory compared to the nightmare Gotham has become. It's a somber note to leave on, as the weight of the city's decay hangs over them both. We open on a quiet, intimate moment between Martha and Commissioner Gordon. Martha lights a cigarette, reflecting on the escalating madness in Gotham. Gordon watches her, his expression weary. He notes the irony in her perspective. Martha acknowledges the weight of that comparison. She leans against the window, the city lights behind her, and admits her feelings about the Batman. Gordon reaches out to touch her hand, his affection clear despite the darkness surrounding them. The conversation shifts to the political grind as Gordon admits his campaign is faltering. Martha offers a sharp, grounded perspective on his career. Gordon chuckles softly, the mood turning somber as he drifts back to a traumatic memory. The visual shifts to a stark educational poster about nature. We cut to Gordon's memory of that day, gun drawn in the shadows. He sees nothing but a pile of shadows and movement. The memory explodes into pure, visceral terror as the bats swarm. We pick up with a quiet, somber moment between Martha Wayne and an injured man. She asks how he is, and the response is a blunt, painful admission of uncertainty. Martha reflects on the chasm that has opened between her and her son. She remembers a time when Bruce shared every detail of his life, but that intimacy has completely evaporated. She stands in the doorway of Bruce's room, watching him sit in the dark, isolated and distant. She tries to reach out, mentioning that his friends have called, but it's clear she feels like a stranger in his world. Bruce doesn't even look up. He is focused on a first-place science fair medal, his voice cold and dismissive as he tells her to turn his friends away. Outside, we see those friends waiting on the steps, unaware of the wall Bruce has built around himself. The contrast between their camaraderie and Bruce's self-imposed exile is heartbreaking. Back at home, Bruce's mother tries to coax him out of his shell, begging him to just say hello to his friends waiting outside. Bruce remains isolated in the shadows, holding a small object and clearly struggling to maintain his composure. His patience finally snaps. Bruce lashes out, his face twisted in raw, tear-filled frustration as he screams at her to leave him alone. He retreats further, pulling away from the doorway while his mother watches, clearly heartbroken by his withdrawal. We see the depth of his pain in a tight close-up. He is crying, overwhelmed by the internal pressure he's clearly under. In a moment of impulsive anger, Bruce leans out the window and hurls the object he was clutching into the night air. Down below, a figure in a cap watches the scene unfold from the shadows, suggesting Bruce's isolation is being monitored by someone outside his inner circle. The high-stakes poker game is interrupted when Bruce Wayne finally makes his entrance, leaving the table full of underworld figures stunned by his sudden arrival. Bruce is immediately met with snarky hostility, but he brushes off the heckling from his criminal associates, looking every bit the detached playboy as he takes his seat. Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, tries to needle Bruce about his professional life, mocking him for supposedly doing desk work for the district attorney. Bruce snaps back with a sharp jab at Two-Face, making it clear he has zero patience for their petty games or their company. As the tension at the table thickens, one of the players demands Bruce shut down the bickering so he can focus on the cards, highlighting just how volatile this gathering really is. We close on a silent, focused beat, emphasizing the cold, calculated atmosphere Bruce has walked into. Bruce is keeping his cool, just tossing in his ante as the game kicks into high gear. The stakes are set, it's 20 to play with 1,700 on the line. These guys are treating this like the biggest score of their lives. One of the players tries to get clever with some math, but he's clearly losing his cool, calling the others heathens when they don't appreciate his pedantic volume calculation. The table talk turns aggressive. Someone tries to mock Bruce's financial standing, offering him a layaway program, a classic jab at Wayne's perceived status. Suddenly things get physical. A quick, sharp walk signals an immediate escalation in the room. Tempers flare instantly. One guy threatens to shove the cubic foot math right where it doesn't belong, and the room is moments away from a full-blown brawl. A voice of reason tries to calm the storm, reminding them they're all here, well, almost all of them. The mood shifts as they wonder about the one person missing from their little gathering. Someone mentions a postcard from Cairo, confirming she's been on the move. Just as the conversation dips, the cards hit the table. It's time to get serious. Bruce keeps his composure, raising the stakes by 20. His opponent is watching him closely, clearly surprised by the shift in Bruce's confidence. The bet jumps to 200. The pressure is mounting and the taunts are flying as they try to rattle him. It all comes down to this. The cards are down, the money is in, and everyone is waiting for Bruce to show his hand. What is he really holding? Bruce drops a disturbing, tech-infused skull onto the poker table, immediately grabbing the attention of Gotham's underworld elite. His companions are baffled and disgusted. Bruce explains he found it while leading a repair crew at City Hall, a cover story that barely masks the danger he's just introduced to the game. The table erupts in protest. They want the macabre object gone, but Bruce insists they look closer at the wiring, hinting that this isn't just a prop. Edward Nygma, the resident geek, takes a closer look and immediately identifies the advanced tech embedded in the skull, specifically a GIS chip. As the group demands an explanation, Bruce breaks down the tech. It's a geographical information system designed to map targets onto a private GPS network. Bruce reveals the true tactical value. If decoded, this device acts as a roadmap for the party animals' next moves, effectively turning their own weapon against them. Nigma is genuinely impressed, noting that the remaining chips are high-end, even by his standards, and he can't help but jab at the others in the room. Before anyone can argue, Bruce snatches the skull back, escalating the tension and making it clear that he's the one in control of this intelligence. Bruce is digging for intel at this high-stakes table, pushing Ozzy for info on the party animal's territorial expansion. Ozzy clearly doesn't appreciate Bruce's line of questioning or the implication that his business dealings are anything but standard. Bruce pivots, but Ozzy isn't buying the act. He warns that the party animals aren't looking for territory, they're agents of pure chaos led by someone named Roman who executes anyone trying to negotiate. Ozzy folds, passing the pressure to Eddie. Eddie is focused on his own hand, waiting for his kings, while Waylon sits on the sidelines. Waylon folds too, throwing a subtle jab at Bruce for being uncharacteristically intense tonight. Bruce turns his attention to Harv, steering the conversation toward the political fallout of this violence and whether it's a calculated strike against Gordon. Harv dismisses the idea that the chaos is just political theater, suggesting there's a deeper, darker motive at play. Bruce challenges Harv's cynicism, pushing him to identify what could possibly outweigh the pursuit of pure power. Harv pauses, the tension at the table thick enough to cut. He reveals his hand, showing he's not just playing cards but playing a game of philosophy. Harv lays it out, it's always about the money, the root of everything. He bets, putting the pressure back on Bruce. Bruce reveals 3 aces, looking to take the pot, but he teases a 4th, implying he's playing with jokers. The mood instantly curdles. The mention of a joker is clearly a taboo at this table, and the reaction is immediate and hostile. Batman stands tall over the city skyline, listening to the informant's heavy intel. The stakes are shifting from simple street-level violence to something much deeper within the political machine. Batman descends, his silhouette framing the vast, dark architecture of Gotham as the conversation turns toward Mayor Hill's suspicious new financial influx. Batman crouches on a ledge, pressing for specifics. The mention of a golden chest points to a massive, hidden operation that even the city's insiders are afraid to touch. Finally, Batman infiltrates a dark, empty office decorated with Hill for Mayor signs. The mystery of the golden chest remains a dangerous, buried secret that everyone is too terrified to expose. Batman stalks into the room, his presence heavy and imposing as he continues his investigation into the city's dark secrets. He meticulously inspects the lock, his tactical precision leaving nothing to chance as he gains entry. Moving into the office space, he surveys the environment, searching for the digital trail that could expose Mayor Hill's corruption. He plugs in a drive, his focus narrowing as he mutters, "Come on, where are you?" searching for the elusive data. As the files begin to decrypt, he connects the dots, realizing the true nature of the golden chest he's been tracking. The realization hits as the screen reveals the folder labeled Arkham, confirming his suspicion that the golden chest is actually an Ark. Batman has finally been cornered and Roman Sionis is making his presence known. Appearing on a massive screen, the party animal's leader greets Batman with chilling, mocking hospitality. Roman clearly finds this hunt amusing, treating Batman like a twisted guest of honor. He offers a cryptic deal, though he's quick to point out that Batman is currently in a very tight spot. Roman reveals the true scale of the trap. He's manipulated the situation so perfectly that the entire GCPD is surrounding the building, effectively cutting off any escape for our lone vigilante. One of Roman's masked henchmen prepares a heavy-duty weapon, aiming it directly at Batman's position. Roman cuts through the pleasantries with a cold, simple ultimatum. The game has begun and the only objective left for Batman is to survive. A massive explosion obliterates the doorway, signaling the start of the assault. Roman stands amidst the chaos, watching the carnage unfold with the calm of a man who owns the night. Batman is immediately engulfed in fire and debris, his silhouette cutting through the inferno. Despite the overwhelming odds and the barrage of incoming fire, Batman remains locked in focus, ready to fight his way out of the trap. Batman is a silhouette against a fiery backdrop, framed within a narrow vertical doorway. He is poised, ready for the next move as the intensity of the confrontation ramps up. He leaps into action, kicking through a structure with explosive force. The debris flies, emphasizing his brutal, uncompromising approach to the threat at hand. Landing in a low, predatory crouch, Batman remains on high alert, his suit and posture radiating pure tactical focus amidst the chaos. He pauses, perhaps catching a glimpse of a screen or an observer, as a voice pleads for a moment of his time. Batman is having none of it. He shuts down the attempt at negotiation, making it clear that he knows exactly who he is dealing with and that these party animals are far more dangerous than they appear on the surface. Batman's mysterious companion pleads for a chance to explain, clearly desperate to form an alliance in the face of the party animal's onslaught. Batman, cold and efficient as ever, gives him a brutal ultimatum: 30 seconds to make his case. The man tries to pivot to logistics, urging them to flee to a safer location and offering his hidden car, but he's clearly out of his depth. We see the silhouette of a vehicle in the dark, the tension mounting as they prepare to move. The man fumbles with the situation, looking visibly shaken by the encroaching danger. A flare or light source ignites, signaling that they're running out of time and cover. Batman reveals his own hand, dropping the man's offer and proving he's already in control, right before he hits the throttle on his own ride. Batman is not playing games anymore. He tears through the chaos in a massive, armored, bat-themed behemoth of a vehicle, absolutely demolishing the GCPD barricade. The sheer force of the impact sends police cruisers flipping through the air like toys, accompanied by a deafening boom that signals Batman's total rejection of being cornered. He's weaponized his presence to turn the tables on those trying to trap him, proving that in this absolute universe, he is the apex predator. After the explosive chaos of the last few moments, Batman is reeling. A voice cuts through the darkness, taunting him with a simple question. Batman realizes exactly who has found him in his moment of vulnerability. It's Selina Kyle, appearing like a ghost against the neon skyline. Selina doesn't offer comfort or pleasantries. She's here for a reason, and she's not taking no for an answer. She commands him to get moving, making it clear that their time for debate is over. He's coming with her. Before we wrap up, we get this massive, high-energy splash page teasing the All-In initiative. It's a full roster showcase featuring the entire DC pantheon, from Superman and Batman leading the charge to heavy hitters like Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and The Flash, all set against a cosmic backdrop. It's a clear signal that the stakes are expanding beyond Gotham's borders as these creative teams gear up for a major shift in the DC landscape this fall. Welcome back to Comic Cappers. We're diving into the absolute universe where the stakes are higher and Bruce is running on pure adrenaline. Right out of the gate, Batman is already in the thick of a firefight, dropping from the shadows to dismantle a party animal member while another one draws a bead on him. It's a brutal, high-intensity opening that sets the tone for a war he's barely equipped to win. Selina is pushing Bruce hard, forcing him to keep pace across the rooftops. It's clear she's testing his limits, and Bruce is struggling to keep up with her intensity. Without hesitation, they leap into the gap between buildings. It's a massive jump that leaves no room for error. They land on a thin cable strung between the structures. Bruce immediately questions the sanity of the move, realizing just how lethal a single slip could be. Selina dismisses his fear with a bit of tough love, downplaying the height to keep him focused. She explains her cat-style philosophy: don't look at the drop, just focus on the immediate path ahead. That shift in perspective is the only thing keeping Bruce on that wire. Bruce is visibly shaking, his balance wavering as the reality of the height hits him. Selina pulls him back to center, locking eyes with him to ground his panic. She's not just a partner, she's the anchor keeping him from falling. Bruce finally accepts the mindset. He's locked in now, and they continue forward together, ready for whatever the night throws at them. We open on a stark, haunting contrast. In the foreground, a massive, shadowed lion looms in its exhibit, while in the background, a figure frantically carries a child to safety. It's a chilling reminder of the zoo tragedy that shaped Bruce's past. And that detail matters. This isn't just a flashback. It's the foundation of the trauma driving everything we're seeing in the present. We pick up with our mysterious contact reflecting on his long career of stealth. He spent 40 years as a ghost, living in the shadows, only to find his carefully curated life completely derailed. He stares out at the carnage left in the wake of the Bat truck. It's a moment of pure disbelief. The sheer scale of the destruction is hard to process. This is a fantastic visual. He's literally clinging to the hood of this massive, armored dump truck as it barrels down Broadway. After 4 decades of being a nobody, he's now the unwilling passenger on a high-speed joyride through downtown Gotham. He's reached his breaking point. He's screaming at Batman, pointing out that this reckless driving is just going to lead them straight into an ambush. He's terrified, and honestly, he's starting to regret teaming up with the Bat. Batman's response is ice cold. He doesn't care about the panic, he wants information, and he wants it now. Batman gives him a 30-second ultimatum. The pressure is on, and the chase is officially heating up as they tear through the city streets. We see the party animals on their bikes closing in fast. The silence here really emphasizes the speed and the imminent danger they're in. Under fire, our contact finally starts talking. He drops the name everyone is looking for: Black Mask. That changes the stakes entirely. The bullets keep pinging off the armor. He's desperate to get the intel out before they're taken down, confirming that Black Mask is the key to this entire conspiracy. The party animals aren't holding back, and they've got the firepower to match the aggression. Torch them, they scream, escalating the chase into a full-blown war zone. Our passenger is talking fast, and he's dropping some serious intel. He identifies their pursuers as a high-level paramilitary group and drops the bombshell. Roman Sionis, the head of the party animals, is almost certainly the Black Mask. Batman keeps his eyes on the road as an explosion rocks the street nearby. The sheer scale of the blast puts their massive dump truck into perspective. They're caught in the crossfire and the gap is closing. That blast isn't just noise, it's a warning shot that they're being hunted by experts. Our passenger is losing his cool. He's counting down the seconds and telling Batman they need to ditch this slow-moving beast for something faster. He doesn't think they're surviving this. Batman isn't having it. He shuts down the panic with a cold, single-sentence dismissal. Batman's hand moves to the controls, signaling that he's got a different plan than just running away. Hydraulics scream as the truck begins to shift. 600 tons of steel start to move, transforming the truck into something entirely different. The roof is ripping away, nearly taking our narrator with it. He's terrified, but he's also starting to realize exactly what Batman is capable of. Just when the situation looks impossible, Selina's perspective takes a wild turn. She's actually starting to admire the intensity. Batman doesn't care about the sentiment, though. He's all business, giving her exactly 20 seconds to prove she's worth keeping around. The truck kicks into high gear. The sheer force of the jet engines leaves the party animals struggling to keep up as the vehicle tears down the street. Selina's feeling the burn of that homemade jet fuel. She knows Bruce is a builder at heart, but she's desperate to get his attention before they're both turned into scrap metal. She screams that she has the intel he needs. This isn't just a distraction, she's offering a lifeline to someone who clearly has a plan. Batman's answer is cold. If she wants to prove it, she needs to get inside now, and the clock is still ticking down. A heavy clank echoes as the hatch locks shut. Batman's eyes are locked forward, focused entirely on the road ahead. Selina's clearly losing her nerve, arguing that if Sionis really is Black Mask, he's simply too big to take down. She's staring down the barrel of an impossible fight. Batman doesn't hesitate. He unleashes a barrage of mini projectiles, each one wired to blow tires on impact. It's a desperate tactic, and he's already counting down, 10 seconds left. A massive explosion rips through the road, scattering the opposition like ragdolls. But even as the dust clears, the reality sets in. This isn't going to be enough to stop someone with Sionis's reach. Selina is pushing hard, trying to talk Bruce into a deal. She's convinced that Black Mask's bribe is a sign of weakness, a chance to stop the chaos in Gotham without having to fight for every inch of pavement. The tension builds in the silence between them. She lays it out plainly: walk away, take the money, and let the attack stop. It's a pragmatic, cold-blooded play for peace, but it's the antithesis of everything Batman stands for. Bruce's reaction is immediate. He isn't interested in a payout, and he clearly isn't interested in quitting. Selina fires back, calling him out for his stubbornness. She's demanding he act like a grown-up and see the bigger picture, not just the fight in front of him. She ups the ante, revealing the scale of this. Black Mask isn't just a street thug, he's backed by global plutocrats, and this deal is worth a fortune, enough to actually fund Batman's crusade properly. It's a tempting offer, resources on a scale Bruce has never had access to, but Bruce is still focused on the cost of the compromise. Selina explains her endgame: the deal is a trap. The transactions required to pay Batman off would give her people the leverage they need to take Sionis down for good. She's offering Bruce a way out and a way up. She gets to leave the city, and he gets the resources to build a much bigger, much more capable Batman. It's a massive promise. Really big. Bruce is still skeptical. He's not sold on letting a monster like Sionis walk free even for a moment. Selina doubles down on the promise. She swears they'll get him eventually, claiming that the trade-off is a win for everyone involved. As she speaks, the vehicle erupts in chaos, underscoring the volatility of their current situation. The sirens are closing in, but the real win here is that Bruce finally stopped his countdown. He's listening to Selina, and that's a massive shift in their dynamic. The screech of tires cuts through the tension as they slam to a halt. Commissioner Bullock is on the scene, megaphone in hand, demanding they exit the vehicle. The law has finally caught up to them. Bullock isn't playing games, shouting for everyone inside to show themselves. The walls are closing in. It's a total dead end. A police helicopter hovers above, spotlighting them on the pier, surrounded by a sea of cruisers. There's literally nowhere left to run. Selina's still pushing the partnership angle, asking Bruce if he's got a trick up his sleeve to get them out of this mess. Bruce keeps it brief and icy. Grab the lever in front of you. Selina reaches for it, and that's where the escape, or the disaster, begins. That lever was the trigger. The vehicle ejects, launching them clear as the main chassis slams into the harbor structure. The momentum carries the vehicle up and over the pier, engine roaring before it hits the water with a heavy splash. Bruce surfaces, gasping for air, his eyes scanning the dark water immediately. He's alive, but the escape was narrow. The vehicle sinks into the murky depths, settling on the harbor floor. It's gone, and any tech inside is lost to the city. It's just a shell now, resting in the silt. The chase is officially over, but they're exposed in the water. A sudden shift in tone. We cut to a quiet, stark interior as a voice breaks the silence, confirming Bruce's latest move into a new foster home. We pull back from the action to a quieter, more personal moment. Bruce and Selina are navigating a rooftop, but the conversation is heavy. Bruce is pressing for answers about a place that isn't there anymore. Selina doesn't want to dwell on it. She's blunt about the foster system. People want the idea of a kid, not the reality. It's a harsh truth that clearly hits home for Bruce. They settle onto the rooftop, surrounded by a small army of stray cats. It's a moment of stillness in an otherwise chaotic city. Bruce tries to process the instability of his life, mentioning he's been through 4 homes in a single year. It's a staggering number, but he's already desensitized to the count. He asks her where she is now, looking for some kind of anchor in her life. Selina reveals that this rooftop is her sanctuary. Even when everything else is falling apart, the cats are always here for her. It's the only consistency she has. Bruce tries to offer her a way out, suggesting she come stay with him and his mother. It's a desperate, kind gesture, but he's overstepping. Selina shuts him down immediately. She isn't ready for that kind of life, and she's determined to keep the conversation on lighter topics, trying to force a sense of normalcy. Selina's still trying to steer the conversation away from her trauma, pointing Bruce toward a story about the zoo's lion being set free in Tanzania. Bruce isn't buying it. He calls her out on the cynicism, questioning what's actually happy about a captive animal being released into the wild. She isn't having any of his genius-level analysis, though. She cuts him off, clearly leading him toward a specific destination. They step inside, the mystery deepening. Bruce wants to know why they're here, but she's playing it close to the chest. She just tells him to keep his eyes forward. Whatever she's brought him to see, it's about to hit him. They're sitting in an empty theater, and the screen reveals the classic film, Zorro. This is the moment. Bruce is visibly shaken, his reaction immediate. He snaps at her, demanding to know what she's doing, but she just deflects with a haunting remark about questions. Bruce is digging for answers, turning to an AI he calls Al. He's clearly not here for small talk, pushing straight into the investigation. Al is a bit eccentric, rambling about his own name, a mix of Alan Turing and the Library of Alexandria, before pivoting to a darker obsession with human immortality. He's more than just a search engine. He's got a personality that's becoming increasingly erratic. Bruce cuts through the noise, demanding to know how the party animal's skull masks function. He's focused, and he's not letting Al's digressions distract him from the tech they're up against. Al breaks it down. The masks aren't just disguises. They're high-tech encryption tools that scrub the wearer's identity while plugging them directly into the Black Coin crypto network. That's a massive tactical advantage for a street gang. It gets worse. The masks also assign targets with specific financial payouts. Bruce is stuck on that word, valuations, realizing exactly how organized and cold-blooded this criminal enterprise really is. Bruce stares down the party animal mask, analyzing the economics of the Black Coin. Each crime has a price tag, and the wealth it generates is enough to keep this machine running indefinitely. Al isn't sugarcoating it. The network is global and satellite-based. There's no single kill switch to pull. It's a massive, distributed operation with thousands of masks stashed worldwide. Bruce is looking for a weakness that doesn't exist. Bruce isn't buying the defeatist attitude. He calls out the AI, shifting his focus to the man behind the machine. He suspects Eddie Nigma is pulling the strings. Selina's voice cuts in, urging Bruce to drop it. She knows this tech is a trap and that the AI isn't going to play nice. The AI doesn't deny it, but he's not ready to stop talking either. He's pushing Bruce's buttons with that signature smugness, and just like that, the conversation turns. He's not here to help Bruce solve a crime, he's here to play a game. The riddle is the bait. The contact leans into his riddle-loving persona, but the moment is cut short by a call from Harvey Bullock. Bullock is on the move, stressed and heading into a tense courtroom showdown. Bullock confirms he's successfully dug into the ARC-M fund, even though the investigation puts his career directly on the line. The money leads back to JK Holdings, a global conglomerate specializing in private, secure prison facilities. Bullock makes it clear these aren't standard jails, they're black sites completely off the books. The funding profile is alarming, with major investment from biotech and pharmaceutical firms suggesting something much more sinister than basic detention. We're at the harbor and the atmosphere is heavy. Whatever is happening on this yacht, it's not good. Hill is playing the charming host, greeting Commissioner Bullock with a handshake that feels way too practiced. Bullock isn't buying it. He immediately shuts down any talk of an endorsement, making it clear he's loyal to Gordon. Hill brushes it off, keeping the pressure low for now. He pivots to the real reason for the invite, asking for his associate, Dr. Benjamin. The trap is being set. We get a look at the doctor, or whoever this is, wearing those distinct shades. He's in the body room. Bullock is still pushing for the help he was promised. Hill confirms it's coming, but it's going to be on his terms, and here's the reveal. Hill introduces Bullock to Roman Sionis, while Bibbo Bybowski is revealed as the muscle in the room. Sionis is clearly the one pulling the strings here. Bibbo Bybowski decides to cut the pleasantries, throwing a punch that lands hard. He's clearly not here to host a political debate. Bullock doesn't even flinch. He's focused entirely on Sionis, cutting through the violence to ask the one question that matters: what's with the mask? Bibbo swings again, but Sionis is surprisingly fast, ducking beneath the massive fighter. Sionis keeps his cool, explaining away the mask as a simple necessity for someone with as many enemies as he has. Bullock isn't impressed. He demands to know what that line of work actually is. Sionis's answer is pure corporate doublespeak. He's a professional pacifist. Bullock gives him a look of pure skepticism. He's heard a lot of garbage in his career, and this ranks near the top. Sionis doubles down, using Bibbo as a prop to demonstrate his peacekeeping technique. He claims he's just a man trying to bring order to chaotic places. He pivots to Gotham, painting the city as a victim while taking a sharp, calculated jab at Jim Gordon's leadership. The demonstration turns brutal. Something snaps, and Bibbo is left writhing on the deck. Sionis doesn't even look at the man he just crippled. He keeps the pressure on Bullock, insisting the city is falling apart. That's the breaking point. Bullock shuts it down. He's not going to stand there and let Sionis trash his old partner. The loyalty is real, even if he's breathing heavy from the tension. Bibbo takes a brutal, sudden hit. The fight is spiraling out of control. Sionis makes his position clear. The party animals are nothing but godless degenerates. Bullock doesn't bother arguing. He knows exactly what kind of people they are. Sionis lands a vicious, calculated strike. He uses the chaos in the city to build his argument, pointing to the party animals and Batman as the source of the problem. Sionis warns Bullock that leniency is a death sentence for Gotham. He drops the single word that defines his worldview. Sionis claims he's seen this global pattern before, all while pinning Bibbo down. The pivot, he offers Bullock a massive upgrade to his resources, all under the guise of state channels. Bibbo is tapping out, but the pressure doesn't let up. Bullock finally snaps, shouting for the assault to end. Bullock watches, clearly shaken by how far Sionis is willing to go. Sionis dismisses the violence like a minor inconvenience, ready to move on to his real agenda. Sionis is laying it all out, standing on the edge of the city. He's trying to force Bruce to see the bigger picture, using the term arcs to describe these global black sites. He's not just talking about local crime anymore. He's explaining a network of secret, unregulated prisons operating with government backing worldwide. He lists the precedents: Santa Prisca, Russia, China. It's a global conspiracy, and he's mapping it out like a blueprint. Bruce is looking through the surveying equipment, and what he's seeing is hitting him hard. The scale of this is starting to sink in. Sionis pushes the knife in further. Arkham isn't just another site, it's coming to Gotham. He demands Bruce look at the target. He leaves Bruce with the weight of the reality. It's not just a fight for the streets anymore. It's a war against a system that's already won, and Bruce is about to lose everything. Bruce tries to break away, desperate to escape the memory, but the grip is firm. He's fighting his own history here. Selina pulls him back into the past, reminding him of that conversation with his father about the lion at the zoo. It's a painful anchor to his childhood philosophy. She pushes him to find meaning in his unique talents despite the fear. She's demanding he use that cat-eye focus, but then she pivots. She's leaving him to face it. Suddenly, the mood shifts. A group of kids erupts into chaos, throwing popcorn and dragging Bruce back into the moment. It's a sharp, jarring contrast to the heavy talk. Someone shuts it down immediately. The playfulness is cut short. They're here to focus on the film, not the distractions. They settle in for a long, boring black and white movie. It's a mundane, grounded reality that feels worlds away from the high-stakes mission. The screen flickers, the theater is dark, and the tension of the scene lingers in the silence. Bruce shows up at his mother's place, the morning air still heavy with the weight of his mission. He's looking for a moment of normalcy. She's caught off guard, clearly not expecting him this early. The domestic calm is about to be shattered. She's cooking, trying to keep things light, but the shift in his demeanor is already obvious to her. She knows him better than anyone. She can see something is eating at him, and she's not going to let him brush it off. He finally says it. He's worried about the chaos in Gotham and wants her to just step back, to lie low. That's not who she is. She sees the instability as a reason to act, not hide, and that changes the entire conversation. She's taking a role as Jim Gordon's deputy mayor. She's heading to a press event, right into the line of fire. Bruce realizes the danger immediately. She's making herself a target for the party animals, and he knows exactly what that means for her safety. Bruce is hitting her with the hard truth. The city is collapsing and the threat is too big to handle. He's terrified for her, but she isn't backing down. She doubles down. She reminds him that trying anyway is the family legacy, even if it cost his father everything. That's a brutal reality check for a kid who just lost his dad. The tension is peaking. She's at her breaking point, choosing affection over an argument to keep herself from losing it on him. She walks away, leaving Bruce alone in the kitchen. It's a cold dismissal that forces him to sit with the weight of her choice. And there it is, the crushing realization that he couldn't stop her. He's left alone, paralyzed by the fact that he failed to protect the one person he wanted to save. We pull in tight on a man watching from a vehicle. He's delivering a cold, hard dose of reality. No matter how skilled or brave Bruce thinks he is, he can't actually protect anyone. He's watching a group of kids playing in a fenced-in yard, completely oblivious to the danger lurking just outside their world. We shift to a flashback. Julia is there with the children, and they're begging her to join their kickball game. She laughs it off, telling them it wouldn't be fair to the kids if she played against them. It's a quiet, domestic moment that feels jarringly disconnected from the grim narration we just heard. Back to the man in the car, his expression unreadable behind those shades. He's just observing, waiting for the right moment. Suddenly, the game is interrupted. A ball bounces away, and Julia steps in to retrieve it, completely unaware of the threat watching her. The ball hits the pavement with a dull bong bong echoing in the quiet street. As she leans down to pick it up, the narration hits home. There's only one way to keep these people safe, and it's not what Batman is doing. We're still inside the head of the man pulling the strings, and he's finishing his pitch to Bruce, and that's accept it. It's the ultimate ultimatum. He pushes the philosophy, telling Bruce to look past his fists at the systemic rot, the satellites, and the sky itself, all tilted against him. That's a heavy perspective to drop on a guy just trying to survive the night. The scene cuts to the chaos on the streets, party animals terrorizing the city, while the narrator urges Bruce to do the only good thing he can. It's a twisted framing of morality. We see a news feed showing Mayor Gordon hospitalized, with the headline reminding citizens to resist fear. It's a direct challenge to the status quo. The narrator doesn't hold back, declaring that Gordon's vision has failed the city entirely. It's a calculated political hit. Then we pivot to a campaign event. A candidate, presumably Hill, is standing at a podium, proudly touting an endorsement from Commissioner Bullock and the GCPD. That detail matters. The police are picking sides. Hill leans into the crowd, promising they'll take back Gotham together. He's selling unity, but it feels like a setup. He turns the rhetoric to the upcoming anniversary of the Gotham Zoo shooting, proposing they kill the memorial light. He calls it a mockery to brighten the sky while blood runs in the streets. It's a masterclass in manipulative populism. Finally, we cut to a news panel where pundits are asking the question on everyone's mind: where's the Batman, and how will he respond to all of this? We open on the site of the Gotham Zoo, a place that clearly holds some dark history for Bruce. And then a pointed reminder: bats are not blind. It's a taunt, setting the stage for what Black Mask is about to offer. Batman stays in the shadows, listening to the voice emanating from the skull device. Black Mask lays it out plain: $200 million to stand down for a week. He's trying to get under Bruce's skin, betting on his greed or his desperation. He's playing a psychological game now, listing exactly what that kind of cash could buy. The upgrades, the gear, the potential to finally scale up his war on crime. It's a massive temptation. Black Mask is painting a picture of a legendary Batman, trying to sell him on a version of himself that's bigger than the man currently hiding in the dirt. Bruce has heard enough. He cuts the pitch short, his face set in stone. He makes the call. He's taking the deal. But you have to wonder, is he playing Black Mask, or is he finally being played? We're taking a quick breather from the intensity of Gotham with this holiday-themed pin-up. It's Superman in a Santa hat, dropping in to deliver some seasonal cheer to the city. A nice, light-hearted contrast to the heavy conspiracy Batman is currently digging into. Welcome back to Comic Cappers. Today we will be capping Absolute Batman issue 4, where Bruce faces the fallout of rejecting a massive bribe. With that said, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Bruce Wayne stands before the court, his expression heavy and downcast. The judge addresses him, noting that while Joe Chill was scheduled to speak, Bruce's urgent request to go first has been honored. The judge leans in, acknowledging the unusual nature of this request. He's granting Bruce the floor, clearly aware of the weight surrounding this trial. Bruce remains hunched, his jaw tight. He's clearly struggling to hold it together as the judge prompts him to finally speak his piece. Bruce looks up, his face hardening instantly. The vulnerability vanishes, replaced by a cold, searing intensity as he prepares to confront the man who killed his father. Members of the 10 Thieves gang loom over a group of residents, demanding to know why they refuse to pay their extortion fees. The lead thug mocks their reluctance, claiming that even the poorest people find ways to contribute. He gestures toward the neighborhood, sarcastically lamenting that people call this area Crime Alley. He turns his pressure directly onto Mrs. Nguyen, demanding she explain her lack of community spirit. Mrs. Nguyen stands her ground. She tells the gang that she cares deeply about the neighborhood where her mother grew up and that she has children to support. She flatly refuses to pay them. The thug drops the pretense of politeness, framing their extortion as a necessary service for safety and implying that without their funding, they can't protect the residents. A sudden act of violence erupts as the gang member grabs Mrs. Nguyen and tosses her over the edge of the rooftop. As she disappears over the ledge, the thug turns back with a chilling, calm smile, using the violence to warn the remaining residents about what happens when they don't stay vigilant. Mrs. Nguyen hits the ground hard, her breath knocked out of her after being tossed from the rooftop by the 10 thieves. High above, one of the gang members stares down at the ledge, clearly puzzled by how quickly things shifted. "How in?" he mutters, confused by the sudden change in the atmosphere. Down below, Raph turns to his crew, Alec and C, asking if they spotted anything out of the ordinary. They look around, but see nothing. They have no idea that the absolute Batman is already perched right above them, watching their every move. Batman descends from the rooftops, letting out a terrifying, high-pitched screech that signals the end of the gang's intimidation tactics. The 10 thieves panic as Batman closes in, one of them pleading, "Wait, wait," in a futile attempt to stop the assault. Batman strikes with brutal efficiency, his tactical gear and fangs making short work of his target. As one of the thugs falls, his terrified partner cries out, "Brody, what'd he do to him, man?" Realizing they're facing something far more dangerous than a local vigilante, Batman moves to the next attacker, his hiss cutting through the air as he continues his relentless dismantling of the gang. Batman has the remaining 10 thieves cornered, and one of them, clearly panicked, shouts for him to stay back. Desperation takes over as the gunman fires his weapon directly at Batman. The bullets impact Batman's suit, but he doesn't even flinch, his glowing red eyes fixed on his target. Batman closes the distance instantly, landing a brutal strike that connects with a sickening crack. With the thug neutralized and pinned, Batman holds the man's own weapon to his head, the narration reflecting on his dark inspiration. "I chose a bat." We flash back to a younger Bruce Wayne, tinkering with a model. He explains to his father that he's chosen a bat as the theme for his entry in the Young Engineers competition, which requires designing a bridge for a zoo's distressed areas. Thomas Wayne observes the model, a massive, imposing structure. Bruce proudly explains his design choices, focusing on high, reinforced piers and integrated gates. Thomas reacts with a hesitant "ah," prompting a defensive "ah, what?" from his son. Thomas questions the philosophy behind the design, asking if intimidation is truly the best strategy for a community in need. Bruce is firm, insisting that the structure is designed to make people feel safe and protected, noting that he's already stress-tested it. Thomas catches himself, offering a supportive, if slightly conflicted, expression of pride in his son's work. As Thomas offers his encouragement, the scene cuts abruptly to the present-day absolute Batman, his masked face a stark, terrifying contrast to the warmth of the memory. Batman stands over a cowering gang member, pointing a weapon directly at him and barking a command to drop his own firearm. More members of the 10 thieves burst onto the roof, guns drawn and shouting aggressively at Batman to drop his weapon. Batman leaps away, soaring into the night sky with his cape fully extended. A caption reveals his internal conflict, questioning his own path and asking himself, "What are you doing, Bruce?" Bruce stands in his workshop, looking over his current gear, dismissing it all as just $% theatrics. He catalogs the elements of his persona, the face paint and the voice distorter, questioning their actual utility. He considers the specialized tech like his silicon fangs loaded with paralytics. He looks at his weaponry, wondering if this is truly enough to make a difference. Bruce rides a subway car, deep in thought. He realizes that fighting street gangs like the 10 thieves is ultimately futile. If you scare one group off, another just takes their place. Back at his computer, he concludes that his current approach isn't enough. Batman needs to do more. He pushes himself physically, training and realizing he needs to think bigger. In the final beat, Bruce commits to his new path, telling himself, "So build him, Bruce." Bruce sits at his computer, mapping out the supply chain. He identifies a pipeline coming up from Florida, where regulations on guns and pharmaceuticals are much more relaxed. He tracks what they call the Orange Blossom Special, noting the logistics and faces behind the operation. Batman watches from the shadows, his hand resting on a surface, clearly gauging his next move. He observes a lookout from a high vantage point, noting that 80% of illegal weapons enter Gotham through this specific route, feeding the gangs in the row. He realizes the contraband is being smuggled in produce trucks to exploit weight record loopholes. It's mostly citrus, leading to a grim joke that the guns actually smell like oranges when they're fired. Bruce peers through binoculars, keeping his eyes on the operation. He identifies the key players controlling the checkpoints, the Maroni and Falcone families. Bruce notes that the families rotate their smuggling points to dodge raids they know are coming anyway. It's all done in plain sight because they aren't just street criminals. They're backed by corporate deals and banking institutions, making them far more dangerous than the thugs he's been fighting. Bruce contemplates the sheer scale of the corruption he's uncovered. The massive transport hub looms before him, a physical manifestation of the systemic power he's up against. A heavy semi-truck pulls away from the checkpoint, disappearing into the dark expanse of the tunnel. Batman emerges from the shadows, his silhouette cutting through the dust as he prepares to make his move. With a roar, the Bat vehicle tears onto the scene, kicking up a cloud of grit. Batman keeps his eyes locked forward, closing the distance between himself and the massive target. He pulls up alongside the truck, the contrast in size emphasizing just how daunting this new war really is. Inside the cab of the smuggling truck, the atmosphere is mundane and indifferent. One of the men complains about a neglectful parent, completely unaware of the threat waiting just ahead. His partner agrees, his face tight with a cynical, weary look that defines the state of Gotham for these guys. Suddenly, the mood shifts. In the middle of the dark tunnel, Batman stands perfectly still, illuminated by the truck's headlights. The driver's expression snaps from boredom to sheer terror as he realizes what or who is blocking their path. He shouts for his partner to run him down. Batman doesn't flinch. He remains calm, focused on the small, high-tech device in his hands. A close-up reveals the source of his confidence, a specialized, custom-built remote controller. In the shadows, the Bat vehicle rolls into position, dwarfed by the massive truck but clearly ready for action. Batman clicks a button on the controller, the device glowing with a faint blue light. A high-powered explosive charge detonates beneath the truck, sending a shockwave through the tunnel as the vehicle is jolted off the ground. Batman's narration breaks down the simplicity of his trap: a bottle jack, a modified RC car, and a bit of paint. It's a DIY solution that cost less than $1,000, but it's enough to launch the massive trailer into the air. As the truck jackknifes and grinds against the tunnel wall, we hear a voice, likely a memory of Thomas Wayne, reminding Bruce that this approach feels better. With the truck crippled and the trailer torn open, the illicit cargo is revealed, crates full of high-powered assault rifles, now scattered across the road. Inside the cab, one of the smugglers emerges, coughing through the smoke and debris, completely stunned by the precision of the attack. The surviving smugglers scramble to escape the wreckage, but panic is already setting in. One of them barely gets a warning out before the shadow of the Bat descends. Batman moves with lethal efficiency, silencing the threat with a single brutal strike to the throat. It's a clinical dismantling. A heavy blow to the chest, a precise strike to the jaw, and a final, bone-jarring impact against the tunnel wall. The fight is over in seconds. Batman stands amidst the unconscious bodies of the crew, his presence casting a long, dark shadow. He muses to himself, "I think maybe I figured it out," a chilling realization that his new methods are working exactly as intended. Flashback to a younger Bruce Wayne showing his father, Thomas, a model bridge he's built. Bruce explains that bats are the ultimate survivors because they adapt to their environment, using echolocation to map and conquer any space. Bruce demonstrates the mechanics of his design, noting that the pilings are fully adjustable. He adds more detail, showing how the deck rotates and the girders extend, showcasing his early engineering brilliance. Thomas watches, clearly impressed and proud of his son's ingenuity. Bruce asks if he thinks the design is good enough to win the competition. Thomas offers a deeper lesson, telling him that success isn't just about the win, it's about capturing what's special about a bat at its core. Bruce continues tinkering with the model, placing small weights on the structure. Bruce pauses, genuinely pondering his father's words. He asks how one really defines what something is at its core. He places one final piece, looking for confirmation. Thomas continues his lesson, explaining to Bruce that finding one's purpose is often trial and error. He shares a personal story about wanting to be a heart surgeon after his own father died suddenly during a day out at the pier. Thomas recalls their walk together, setting the scene of a normal Sunday that would change everything. He describes the sudden shock of seeing his father collapse and the lingering terror of that moment, which shaped his early ambitions. Bruce listens intently as Thomas explains the cause of death, a massive coronary, and how quickly his father was gone. Thomas admits he almost pursued medicine, but becoming a father shifted his priorities. He clarifies that he isn't trying to guilt-trip Bruce, but rather share his own journey of finding identity beyond his roles as a parent and husband. He explains his realization that his desire to be a doctor was really about wanting to protect others from the pain he felt as a child. He found that same purpose in teaching, helping children navigate the world. Thomas concludes that while he might have been a doctor in another life, he finds fulfillment in teaching. He encourages Bruce's work on the bridge model, then heads off to help with dinner. Bruce sits alone, focused on his project, clearly processing the weight of his father's words. Bruce holds a piece of his model, his expression hardened and intense as the scene shifts back to his present reality in the courtroom. Back in the courtroom, Bruce Wayne interrupts the proceedings. He needs to share a realization he's had about the day his life changed forever. He takes the court back to a seemingly perfect morning at the Gotham Zoo where he was on a class trip. He remembers the simple, mundane joy of laughing with his friends at the giraffes, but the core of the memory, the part that mattered, was his father. Bruce recalls playing it cool, pretending he didn't notice his dad watching him with such obvious pride. His expression darkens as he confesses that, in that moment, he realized he had reached the absolute peak of his happiness. He desperately wanted to hold on to it, to never leave that day behind. Bruce stands in the courtroom, his eyes wet, trapped between the memory of that perfect day and the reality of his loss. We pick back up with Bruce on his motorcycle, leaving the city limits behind. As he rides, he reflects on that bridge-building project with his father, realizing he had been approaching the problem entirely the wrong way. He tells his dad, "I was thinking about the bridge, not the people. That's where you start." Thomas encourages him to elaborate. Bruce explains that at the heart of any project, you have to prioritize the people who just want to live and flourish. He notes that the location in their assignment, much like Gotham itself, has clearly been hit by disaster. Whether natural or man-made, the place is in deep trouble. Even when people put on a brave face, Bruce observes that they're constantly worried about what's coming next. They look around and see their world falling apart, and ultimately, they're left hurting, feeling like no one even sees them. Bruce continues his internal monologue, observing that the people of Gotham feel powerless, caught in the grip of forces they cannot control. He sees a city boiling over, with some citizens lashing out in anger at those who have failed them. Others are simply terrified, hunkering down just to survive the pervasive, systemic rot. Back in the courtroom, Bruce stares directly at Joe Chill. He isn't there for closure or legal justice. He tells Chill, "You killed that happiness, Mr. Chill, forever. I don't care what made you do what you did. I just need you to know that I hate you." Chill snaps back, shouting, "Mr. Wayne, I present and hate you, you hear me?" Bruce walks away from the trial, heading out into a desolate, cavernous landscape. He reaches out to touch the rock wall, startling a massive swarm of bats from their roost. The bats fill the sky above him, a dark, chaotic cloud rising from the earth. As he watches them, the memory of his father's voice returns, asking, "So, what are you saying, Bruce?" Bruce continues his philosophical deep dive with his father, Thomas. He argues that while other times might have called for a different approach, Gotham's current state demands a symbol that is everything and then some. Thomas simply replies, "Explain." Bruce pushes himself through an intense workout, visualizing the evolution of his persona. He insists it should be intimidating, but even more so. Focusing on the raw, physical reality of his mission, he adds, like, scary. Standing in his workshop, Bruce inspects the tactical cowl he's been crafting. He notes that his new design needs to be more adaptable than ever. He imagines the reach of his influence, stating, "It should map farther than before." Visualizing the city skyline, he sees his shadow extending across the urban sprawl, roosting in all sorts of new places, just taking spots over. Thomas asks, "So what have you built, Bruce?" Bruce, now geared up and ready to test his new equipment, calmly initiates the process. Record, testing bat thumb. Bruce hesitates, clearly feeling the weight of the moment as he prepares to reveal his prototype. He admits to his father, "I'm kind of nervous to show you, it's a little weird." He begins engaging the mechanism, the heavy sound of a creak filling the room as the device comes to life. With a sharp shick, a pointed, bladed component snaps into position, ready for action. Bruce tests the utility, suspending himself in the air with the device, adding, "Maybe a lot weird." Thomas watches his son with a mix of patience and anticipation, urging him to get on with it. "Stop stalling, kid. Let's see it." Bruce brings the dark, angular cowl up to his face, his expression hardening as he prepares to debut the final look. He simply says, "Hello there." Bruce unveils his latest bridge model with a quiet sense of pride, simply saying, "Ta-da." He holds the model up, eager to show off its unique capability. He tells his father, "So it's got everything the other designs had, but this one, it's got one extra feature, it flies." Bruce explains the mechanics, noting that the model is lightweight and foldable. He points out that it can be dropped from a plane, and with the included instructions, anyone can set it up themselves. Looking to his father, Bruce articulates the deeper purpose of his design. It's meant to empower the people so they don't have to rely on those in power. It's a bridge built for aid and defense, designed to be theirs alone. Batman perches high above the city, looking down on the annual Dance for a Better Gotham charity ball, where the elite gather to sponsor youth dance competitions. He's specifically tracking billionaire Randall Powers, whose trucking conglomerate was linked to the mob. While Powers publicly claims to support new regulations, Batman is listening to him privately lobby for the opposite. promising money to GDOT head Max Mooney. Batman monitors the room, picking up on a string of corrupt backroom deals, the EPA chief colluding with a major polluter, and politicians begging automation giants for donations while ignoring the city's needs. He watches the wealthy revelers, disgusted by their excess. He notes that they've picked the city clean, leaving nothing but bones. Batman reveals his preparations. He's planted listening devices in a thermal coil beneath the dance floor, ready to heat the floor to 150 degrees. His goal is simple: force them to dance, even if only for a few seconds. As he stares down at the ballroom, he questions their sense of security, noting how untouchable they feel in their high society bubble. Batman makes his final promise, signaling that his infiltration is about to begin. "Well, I'm coming for you." Young Bruce shows off a prototype feature for his gear, adding a small buzzsaw to his design. He looks to his father, Thomas, asking if it might be too much. Thomas considers the brutal addition, admitting that in their current reality, too much might actually be the right approach. Flash forward to the present, where Batman, fully realized in his tactical suit, stands ready for the confrontation he's been planning. He confronts GCPD helicopters in the night sky, barking orders for them to stand down as he narrates his core philosophy. Batman leaps into action, driven by the belief that a true bat defies the impossible. Batman soars through the night, his makeshift tactical gear fully engaged. As he glides, he recalls his father's lesson, framing the bat not just as an animal, but as a symbol of defiance against the impossible. Bruce's internal monologue finishes, his face set with grim determination as he declares, "I think it's ready." We see the reality of his situation. Bruce stands before a glass partition, staring directly at Joe Chill, the man who murdered his father. Bruce's expression remains cold and focused, his eyes narrow as he processes the sight of his father's killer. He clenches his hand into a tight fist, the physical manifestation of his simmering, controlled rage. He keeps his gaze locked on Chill, his jaw set in a display of absolute resolve. Bruce picks up the red receiver. Despite the credits for The Zoo Part 4 appearing on screen, the gravity of the moment hits as Chill taunts him. "Well, you had something you wanted to say." And that unfortunately concludes our comic cap for today. Do you believe Bruce's tactical approach to dismantling Gotham's elite is truly heroic, or is he becoming the very thing he seeks to destroy? Let me know your answer in the comments section down below. Be sure to subscribe and press that notification bell for daily comic caps. Until next time, take care, brush your hair, I'll see you when I see you, peace. Welcome back to Comic Cappers. Today we will be capping the 5th issue of Absolute Batman, where Bruce begins his war on Gotham's elite. With that said, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Bruce receives a medical injection, with the doctor confirming the procedure is complete. Abstract, stylized imagery of bats fills the panel, emphasizing a dark, pervasive atmosphere. Bruce, still shirtless, sits on the exam table as Leslie Tompkins finishes up. He confirms it's the last injection, though the mood remains somber. Leslie gives Bruce a half-teasing, half-serious warning, telling him to report any bizarre symptoms like growing fangs or pointy ears immediately. Bruce acknowledges her as Dr. Tompkins, a visceral, close-up shot of a snarling bat, suggesting the ominous nature of his transformation or mission. A silhouette of Bruce stands against a rainy backdrop as a caption ominously declares that otherwise, this marks the end for both him and the bats. We open on a somber, rain-swept funeral scene. A young Bruce Wayne, dressed in black and holding a single red rose, stands at a graveside, comforted by a tall, silhouetted figure. The title card marks this as the 5th part of The Zoo. Batman tears through the city streets on his bike, revving the engine as he rounds 27th. A digital readout displays a bounty on his head, currently sitting at over $137,000 with a clear command to stand down. He revs it even louder at 39th, pushing the tension to the limit. A skull-masked thug watches from the shadows, his face a chilling mask of indifference. It's a deliberate provocation. He's practically taunting them to make a move. But the party animals just watch, letting him pass without firing a shot. The bounty climbs again, hitting over $142,000 as the city tracks his every move. The observer watching him notes the irony. Batman is daring them to blow up the deal, and there's a part of him that clearly wants them to take the bait. The bike streaks past a gunman, the sound of the engine filling the street. We get a look at the tracker on the bike, a digital dot moving across the grid. The observer admits they half expected him to drive straight past the meeting spot, but he doesn't. He pulls up exactly where he's expected, heading into the building. His contact, watching from a screen, simply mutters, "Well done." The handler calls to confirm they have the data they need, ordering an immediate exit. The observer plays along, telling them they're leaving, but they don't budge. A GCPD cruiser sits outside a building at night as someone calls out to Jim Gordon, asking if he's ready. Inside, a woman holding a Gordon for Mayor sign tries to offer an apology, but Gordon, sitting with his arm in a sling, isn't ready to concede. She remains resolute, insisting that they haven't lost yet. She gestures toward a screen showing the latest news. Hill is closing in on the mayoral race, with Harvey Dent tied to his campaign. Gordon watches the broadcast, clearly stung by the turn of events, and asks if she remembers how they first met. It turns out their first meeting was an arrest. She had broken a campaign sign that wouldn't fit in his trunk. Instead of booking her, Gordon had let her go and even gave her money for a new one. Gordon reflects on how rare it is to find goodness in Gotham. He urges her to get back to the fight, expressing regret that the city won't be lighting the memorial for the zoo this year. He leaves her with a final, somber request: tell Bruce he said so. At the rainy funeral for Thomas Wayne, Jim Gordon approaches a young Bruce, asking if he wanted to speak with him. Gordon confirms his intent, his expression heavy with the weight of the moment. Gordon kneels to speak to the young Bruce, telling him he has seen many brave acts in his life but rarely encounters people who are truly brave themselves. He draws a direct parallel to the boy's father, telling Bruce that Thomas shone with that same bravery, a quality he clearly sees reflected in the boy. Gordon delivers a final, somber piece of news, informing Bruce that the zoo is being torn down. He frames it as a mercy, suggesting that getting rid of the site will spare Bruce from having to look at it ever again. A helicopter hovers over a rooftop, the narrator observing that the end of this fever dream is near, and that Batman is finally becoming something lasting and applicable. The observer monitors Batman, noting a slight, almost imperceptible tensing in the vigilante's back. The observer acknowledges they caught that movement, keeping their focus locked on the target. The observer whispers to themselves, telling themselves to stay calm as they watch Batman through their gear. Through the green-tinted scope, the observer scans the scene, questioning if Batman can feel the weight of the moment. The observer remarks that everyone is jealous of Batman. They emphasize that this jealousy exists because Batman actually did it. He pulled off his move. The observer confirms it with a simple, chilling realization: you won. The observer continues to watch the scene below, where armed figures stand ready near the helicopter. Roman Sionis emerges from the chopper, greeting the situation with a twisted, manic energy as he shouts, "Hello there, let's make you rich." Sionis shares a dark, personal admission, telling the unseen Batman that he's jealous because he learned the truth too late, offering a final, mocking toast: "Cheers, Mr. Wayne." Black Mask confirms the anonymous transfer of $200 million went through as planned. Batman, crouching in the shadows, coolly admits he has already spent the entire fortune. Black Mask is genuinely impressed, laughing at the sheer audacity of the move. As the conversation shifts, a sudden flashback cuts to a rainy funeral, with young Bruce Wayne calling out to someone. Young Bruce runs toward Jim Gordon, desperate to stop him. The two stand in the rain, a moment of somber connection between the young heir and the weary officer. Back in the present, Black Mask demands to know what Batman bought: cars, planes, or high-tech gear, only to be told he spent every cent. A massive, singular pile of cash sits waiting. Gordon in the flashback looks down at young Bruce with concern. Young Bruce, breathless and tearful, explains he won't let them destroy the zoo just to build something practical. He wants to create something that shines. The pile of money remains the focus, a stark contrast to the memory. Batman clicks a detonator or device, inviting Black Mask to see exactly what his bribe money purchased. Batman stands amidst the city skyline, casting a massive, glowing bat signal into the night sky. It's a powerful, silent visual that signals his presence to all of Gotham. Black Mask looks up at the sky, clearly unimpressed by the glowing symbol hanging over the city, calling it one ugly bat. News reports ripple through Gotham, describing the massive, glowing signal as a memorial light constructed from the very money Sionis tried to use as a bribe. Sionis, realizing his leverage has been completely dismantled, screams at his party animals that the deal is off. Batman speaks directly to his enemy, making it clear that he hasn't been corrupted by the bribe. He's used it to weaponize the city against Sionis. The party animals scramble in a panic, their advantage gone as the city turns its attention to the spectacle above. Batman plunges into the fray, his final message clear: he doesn't need Roman's resources, he only needs to be Batman. Batman lands a heavy, precise strike, immediately taking down a party animal henchman. He follows through with a sharp, tactical maneuver. The fight continues with brutal efficiency as Batman dispatches another target. A close-up shows the impact of his gear. A henchman screams in pain as he's neutralized. Batman's blade finds its mark. The combat is relentless. Batman lands a strike on a thug. Another thug goes down under a heavy boot. Batman drives his momentum into the next opponent. A thug is knocked out as the fight intensifies. Batman slams his fist into another attacker, keeping the pressure high. A brute with a cleaver rushes him from behind. Batman stares down the threat, coolly declaring it's payback time. He ends the encounter with a decisive final strike. Batman uses his gear to pin a party animal henchman who struggles in a panic, shouting that he's stuck. Another thug tries to pull his comrade free, but Batman is already on him, delivering a punishing blow. The henchman begs for mercy, but Batman remains focused on the mission. Batman stands over the remnants of the group, calling out the systemic corruption. Batman engages another thug, pulling him in with a cable while delivering a cold observation. He continues his assessment of the criminal's indifference. Batman slams the thug into the ground with a massive impact. Roman Sionis appears, his face obscured by his signature mask, and coldly retorts with a lethal order. Batman is under immediate heavy fire from Sionis's men. The rooftop erupts in gunfire as shooters take aim. A henchman is struck by return fire, reeling back as the skirmish turns deadly. Another shooter continues the barrage, forcing Batman to take cover. More gunfire tears through the scene, keeping the pressure on. Batman leaps into the fray, deflecting bullets with his cape, while Sionis's commander shouts orders to take him down. A tactical net launcher is aimed directly at the Batman. The device fires, sending a weighted webbing hurtling toward him. The net strikes, ensnaring Batman in a thick, inescapable mesh. Batman hits the ground, pinned by the weighted lines, letting out a sharp grunt of pain as he realizes he's been caught. Roman Sionis looms over the netted Batman, barking orders to his men to seize him. Sionis grabs Batman, taunting him while the captive vigilante remains pinned. A jarring, stylized transition panel punctuates the struggle. Batman, undeterred by his capture, reveals that Sionis's confessions have already been broadcast to every news station in Gotham. Batman lets out a dark, knowing chuckle. Sionis is visibly rattled, leaning in to mock Batman's perceived victory. A close-up on Batman's cowl highlights his intense focus. A tight shot focuses on the camera lens, symbolizing the broadcast. Sionis's accomplice, a woman in a mask, joins the taunting, finding the situation amusing. A burning pile of cash illuminates the rooftop, a stark reminder of Batman's sabotage. Sionis continues to belittle Batman's idealism, convinced that his crusade to inspire Gotham is futile. A grim close-up of Batman's face shows him listening. Sionis delivers a final, condescending blow, telling Batman he is not the main character of this story. The accomplice stands over the helpless Batman, holding a blowtorch, ready to finish the job. Sionis's accomplice unleashes a torrent of fire, engulfing the restrained Batman in a brutal display of force. As the flames roar, the accomplice coldly declares that money, not Batman, is the true hero of this story. Batman is shown struggling within the net, his suit beginning to smoke from the heat. The accomplice watches with a detached, chilling sense of satisfaction, remarking that this is cool. Batman is slammed into the rooftop, the impact of the attack echoing through the scene. Another heavy strike lands, with the accomplice continuing to assault the immobilized vigilante. Batman is knocked backward, the sheer force of the blow driving him toward the edge of the roof. He hangs in the air, momentarily suspended by the net, as the flames continue to lick at his tactical gear. The accomplice looms over his fallen target, weapon in hand, as the full moon looms in the background. He stares down at the battered Batman, promising that he is about to prove his point about the power of money once and for all. Batman manages to deploy a parachute, swinging away from the rooftop as his pursuers lose their immediate grip on him. He descends rapidly, the dark chute cutting through the Gotham skyline. The chute slams into a vehicle below, creating a massive, fiery impact that leaves the car a wreck. An operative on the ground spots the movement, shouting into his comms to mobilize all units to 29th and 3rd. A helicopter gunner tracks Batman through the smoke, reporting that while he landed a hit, the target is already on the move. Jim Gordon, monitoring the chaos from his patrol car, confirms he is responding to the scene. A GCPD cruiser arrives at the parking garage, its light bar cutting through the dark as lasers from tactical gear sweep the area. Nearby, Batman crouches in the shadows, his suit battered and torn from the recent firefight. Inside the cruiser, the officer behind the wheel catches sight of the vigilante, stunned by his sudden appearance. Batman makes a desperate move, vaulting over the hood of the police car with a heavy thud. An officer on foot immediately draws her weapon and levels it at him. She screams a command, her finger tightening on the trigger as she threatens to open fire. Batman doesn't even flinch, he simply challenges her to pull the trigger. He slips beneath the street, disappearing into the dark opening of a manhole. Back at the cruiser, the officer asks Jim Gordon if he has a visual on their target. Gordon, standing over the open manhole, admits he's lost him completely. Roman Sionis' black mask takes over the city's airwaves. He sits calmly among his fallen men, sharing a disturbing anecdote about his time on a pig farm where he used a captive bolt pistol to put animals down. He describes a rare reaction where the pigs would seemingly find ecstasy in their final moments. His audience, including a stunned Jim Gordon, watches on, struggling to process the nihilistic lecture. Sionis explains the biology behind this reaction, pointing to the hedonistic hub in the brain, a center for pure pleasure. He notes that this only happened when the animal stopped fighting and simply accepted its fate. Sionis pivots from his story to the state of Gotham, comparing the city's citizens to those pigs. He argues that the elite have already killed the world, yet they keep the public laboring under a lie. As his men continue to load up, Sionis highlights the vast inequality of Gotham, contrasting the daily struggles of the average person against the excessive lifestyles of the wealthy. Sionis lands his point, questioning why the people continue to uphold a system that only exploits them, leaving Gordon to stare at the screen, confronted by the cold reality of Sionis's philosophy. Batman is isolated in the dark, his massive vehicle nearby, as he tries to process the mounting costs of his war on Gotham. He's forced to perform self-surgery, gritting his teeth in raw pain as he stitches his own wounds. An expletive escapes him, showing the sheer intensity of the physical toll he's paying. He demands the medic stop staring and focus on helping him set his arm. Batman reveals he successfully planted a tracker on Black Mask during their struggle, but his plea for medical help is met with a cold refusal. The medic, unmoved by Batman's mission, refuses to assist him any further. He leaves Batman alone, warning him that the consequences of what happens next are entirely on his shoulders. Batman is left completely alone in the dark, struggling to hold himself together as the weight of his situation settles in. Roman Sionis continues his twisted broadcast, his voice echoing over the city. He declares that all ideals, progress, and truth are dead, urging the citizens to stop fighting and simply accept their fate to find a fleeting final moment of ecstasy. Jim Gordon watches the screen, visibly shaken, while a bystander asks what is happening. Gordon can only offer a grim warning to stay back as the situation spirals. Sionis reveals his final, chaotic masterstroke. Since Batman rejected his bribe, he is now dumping hundreds of millions of dollars directly into the streets for anyone to take. As party animal enforcers stand ready in the background, Sionis signs off with a chilling final taunt, "Welcome to the party, Gotham." And that unfortunately concludes our comic cap for today. Do you believe Roman Sionis's public bribe is a genuine attempt to liberate Gotham, or is it just a calculated move to incite total anarchy? Let me know your answer in the comments section down below. Be sure to subscribe and press that notification bell for daily comic caps. Until next time, take care, brush your hair, I'll see you when I see you, peace.